Hey there, Whovians. We've made it to the end of season 1/14. And boy, was it what we expected? Was it not what we expected? But we got a lot to talk about. So this is going to be great. We are going to be talking all about Empire of Death. And we got a great crew to talk all about it. But before we introduce everyone, warning, there will be spoilers in this one, and we are going to be talking all about this one. So we've got a great one ahead for you. And if you haven't seen it yet, where were you? What have you been doing? Were you waiting for us to come on the air to be able to watch this and such? So we could talk along as you guys are watching and pinpoint everything for you. I'm not going to do that. We're just going to have fun with it and, go watch it. Please, please put us on pause. We don't mind waiting. We never do. We wait for everybody. We are the ones that wait. It is a good thing to do. So how's that for tying into the episode? So if you if you want to, please like and subscribe and tell all your friends about Earth Station Who. We're not stopping after this episode, and we're going to keep going. We're going to be coming to you talking about all different types of stuff. We've got probably almost planned out all the way to the Christmas special already. So folks, you're stuck with us. So thank you for joining us. We're going to have a ton of fun tonight. And let's say hi to the crew. Let's, of course, say hi to our regulars. Mr. Mike Gordon is here.
Howdy.
How are you, my friend?
I am peachy keen.
And Ms. Mary Ogle.
Hi, everybody. It is fantastic to be here.
We didn't even need to have a snap to turn to dust this time. So it was pretty cool. So let's say hi to our guests tonight. Returning, of course, Ciaran is back.
Hello there.
Ciaran was supposed to be with us a couple weeks ago, but sadly, he wasn't feeling well, and he looks like he's more on the mend than before.
Much better, thank you.
I'm glad to have you with us, my friend. And of course, from Felton Nerdy, Earth Station Trek, the Monkeying Around podcast, we have Veronica and Charles.
Hello.
Hey, guys. Been listening to you guys all season, and I've been waiting to come on here and say that I like the Chibnall era.
We don't have any graphics that say, non-Chibnall bashing. So, Oh, does that count as a Chibnall bash right there? No, sorry. It's okay. It is great to have you guys. I've been seeing like some of your thoughts on Facebook, Charles, especially. You've been pretty vocal.
You are vocal, but I try to keep it non-spoilery. So I try to just post an opinion on Fridays, but not everybody watches it at the same time. I think it's been fun all year. Not as much episodes this year that I would choose to revisit. I think there's been 3 really good ones, but it's been a short season, and it's Russell doing what Russell does. And that's one thing heading into the season that, we've never been more prepared for a Doctor Who showrunner. We've already been through an era of Russell. We knew what to expect, and we all pressed play anyway. So there's no sense in complaining.
Touche. Ciaran. So what's been going on? What has your thoughts been on the season so far?
I've had complicated thoughts. I've enjoyed it. I have not, I'll be perfectly frank, I have not enjoyed the fandom. It has made me not enjoy this. Like, my enjoyment of the season has gone down because of just so many different things, and the discourse. I don't know what it is about this season. The discourse has been so kind of toxic. I was going to do my own quick wrap up show like I did with the anniversary specials, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it because I was just like, no, I don't want to throw another, this is just me. I don't want to throw something out there and have it toxically thrown back at me. But as far as the season itself goes, I've really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed Space Babies more than Devil's Court. I just want to say that.
Really?
Up. Yes, I did.
Really? You're the first person I've met who's actually said that. So that's pretty awesome.
But no, I've genuinely enjoyed it. And I think a lot of people's enjoyment of it has been hampered by the fact that they've had such unrealistic expectations. Like, the people who are just like, this episode is absolutely going to be a remake of a Big Finish story that everyone loves. No, it's not. It's not going to feature Lucy Miller. It's not going to have a recurring character from 1964. Just let it be what it is. But yeah, when I sat down and finally got to the finish, I was like, I'm satisfied. I am very satisfied with how it ended.
Okay. No, that's good. I like that. All right. Veronica,
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
we can hear you
Yes.
now. Awesome.
Good. So I enjoyed it a lot, the season a lot. I mean, this past episode was all over the place. I did appreciate how it ended and how they kind of tied things up. I feel like there's still going to be a untying of that
Oh, yeah.
because
Very much so.
that seems too normal for everything that she was going through, and there was too much weird stuff for it that to be that normal. But it was a fun episode.
Okay. Awesome. And I think we're going to have a good conversation on this one tonight and everything. And, Charles, you and I will have to have a talk, about the Chibnall era sometime, but,
You're going to take them
But,
out back.
exactly. Touche. So I have my notes, so I'm ready to jump in with both feet. Let's get initial thoughts of this episode and what we thought about it. Veronica, since you went last, you're going to go first this time.
Okay. I really like the effects that they had with monster.
Sutek.
Sutek.
I wanted to say Suteth, and I was like, that's not right. I should have said it and it would have been close enough. I really like the visual effects with that. I mean, you could still tell it was CGI basically, but it was a very realistic looking CGI where it almost looked like it could have been a puppet instead. I
And
really
you guys
like
know a thing or two about puppets, so that's good.
I always appreciate when there's like practical effects going on. And I the way that they got Mel, because you have dead skin on you, therefore we can control you. That was stretching it.
Just a bit.
Just a little bit, because then they can
Yeah.
do that to everyone, and it's just
Well, everyone else was
Whatever.
gone except for the three of them.
yeah. But then, so if they could do that, then why did they need the dust of death? Because then they could just be like, ha ha ha, you have dead skin cells on you, everyone's gone.
Mhm. Okay. Fair
I
enough.
mean, that's one
yeah.
of the many problems. But I really enjoyed the chase scene. Although when the people were running out of the bus, because from a outside perspective, if you don't know what the heck's going on, there's a giant dust storm coming at you. In which case,
Yeah.
I would stay inside the bus and not run to get out of the bus.
Right.
But that's just me.
Okay.
Your fate would have been the same.
It's
Exactly.
true. It's true.
Yes, but you didn't know that at the time.
No.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. If you're running out, you just die tired.
Yeah,
But I
exactly.
enjoyed watching them ride around the bike and ride through the things and get away and all that fun stuff. That was fun.
You're just a little more winded before you become one with the wind. So there
Right.
you go.
I love the woman who just vaults over the seats. It's just like, screw you guys, I'm getting out first.
All for myself. Yes. Well, awesome. Charles, what about you, sir?
I like Russell T Davies' writing. He writes characters very well and big emotional scenes very well. And even outside of Doctor Who, I think It's a Sin and Years and Years are masterpieces. With Doctor Who, he does not care about the sci-fi, and I'm very much a sci-fi nerd. So he writes his big, great, really engaging emotional scenes and then just fills in some nonsense in between to sort of bridge the gap between them. But I knew that going in. So as the clues were happening in the season, I know they're not clues. They're Russell T Davies hype. Like there's it's not a mystery where the clues are going to build you up to a conclusion that all makes sense. Instead, it's just a bunch of things are going to happen, and then he will reveal. It could be a person in a giraffe suit was the solution. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like it could be whatever he wants it to be. And I thought all of this made as much sense as Jack being the face of Bo and things like that. It's right in Russell T's wheelhouse. I don't think this is my favorite Russell T series season finale, but it's not my least favorite. End of Time is still down there. So I guess that was a movie. It wasn't even a finale, was it? Anyways, no. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed watching it. Just watch it with your feelings. Don't stop and wonder why anything is happening in any given time or if anything makes sense.
Just remember, because Doctor Who.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. Mary.
Because RTD.
Exactly. Let's hear Mary. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I have sort of similar feelings to Charles. I mean, it's a mess. It's a big fat RTD mess. But it's, this is what we usually get, especially in the second part of a two-parter with RTD. It's not the worst one I've ever seen. It's not the best one I've ever seen. I do think there were some wonderful moments in it. There are always some really wonderful, high emotional character moments in an RTD episode, and a lot of those were hit, and I liked that a lot. I am not a fan at all of the everyone dies and then we bring them back trope. I've seen it a million times. We all have. I mean, Avengers, Superman, whatever.
Captain
Um,
Jack. No.
yeah, I mean, over and over again. And they did it so right at the beginning of the episode, so there's like zero stakes through the rest of the episode because they're going to bring them back. There's no way they're all going to be gone. And so there's just no suspense there at all.
No,
But
agreed.
yeah, so I mean, I like the episode overall, but I think there's many problems with it to the point where it started to grate on me. Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm kind of middle of the road about it. I find it annoying. I liked it, but it was annoying in parts.
I have a
Okay.
little something to add about your thoughts of the lack of stakes. It was so I could have seen Kate dying, but when Rose died and then her mom died, that was where I was like, nope, that's not gonna happen.
Well, everyone on Earth died.
Everyone on Earth
they're
died.
gonna have to
Right.
do it,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
We
But
technically
it's that
died in
point
that
when I was
episode.
like-
Yeah.
Right. Yes,
You're
we
like,
died.
yeah, they're not going to stay dead because there's
Yeah.
no way they're going to kill off those characters. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like
Which-
to point out, I died last. If you watch the scene of the dust going across the Earth, it's pinching towards South Australia. So I died last.
So you got to hang on the longest.
Well, Veronica stayed in the bus, so she might have lived for a little longer than
Yeah.
me.
Well, depending on the
How do we know you
filtration
didn't
system.
die because you didn't show up a couple weeks ago? For all we know.
I've been replaced, and I have theories
Exactly.
about that.
Oh, we'll get into those, so it's cool. All right, Ciaran, what do you got? What were your initial thoughts for this?
I think, look, as I said, I had trouble with the season. So this episode, I tried to go in with they say the willing suspension of disbelief. I just sort of let it flow over me. I enjoyed it. If there's one thing I can say about this episode is, I think again, people are expecting Russell T Davies to, and he often does hit the same story beats, and he often has the same formats. But this is a shorter season. It's basically half the length of his previous seasons. I don't think we've had a complete resolution yet. And this is something I was saying all throughout the season when people were saying, oh, this doesn't make sense in this episode. This doesn't make sense. I'm like, we're not at the end yet. Like, you can only judge these things in hindsight. And I don't think we are at the end yet, especially with, Mrs. Flood and things like that. I think there's a lot of loose ends that weren't tied up and a lot of things that are just like, that makes no sense. I think it's going to make sense. I hope. I may be wrong. And, I may in a year's time be like, oh, Russell, that was just a first season, right? It's like David Tennant's first season. It's it's got Fear Her in it, and we don't want to look at it. But yeah, but as far as the episode goes, yeah, Mary's right. It's a conclusion. Like, these seasons are based around the first half of the finale being the big reveal, and the second half is digging yourself out of the hole you've just made. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the performances were absolutely fantastic. Mel doesn't scream once, which
No, I was
The
impressed.
COVID. she does not scream once. But yeah, and I
No.
also loved the fact that it tied together. It tied in the Tales from the TARDIS and
Mhm.
made Tales from the TARDIS a valid continuity point, which is just loved it.
The only problem I thought with the memory TARDIS was if you're just a casual fan and you don't live and breathe on YouTube, you'd have no clue what the memory TARDIS is. You've never seen anything about it before.
Well, I mean, that's like saying if you're a casual Marvel fan and you watch Endgame, you're not going to know what's going on, right?
Oh, sure. Same thing. It is, but, because did they actually even show those in Australia, or was it just,
No, I have a VPN. And I
Me
would
too.
I would also suggest to anyone who does try and watch Tales from the TARDIS, don't just watch the little clips.
No.
Watch the full I forget what word they used to like, so they've cut up and re-edited and done a new sound mix and special effects and everything on these stories. But just the fact that this whole resolution in this episode about the fact that what we thought was just like a little retrospective show is actually a valid spin-off about the TARDIS trying to remember itself so that it can be of use in this final story. But yeah, no, watch the full things. I remember because we saw they announced that they were going to do there's going to be another one right before the special. And everyone's like, oh, what's it going to be? And then Sutek, and you're just like, oh, okay, it's going to be Pyramids of Mars. Cool. I'll wait and watch that.
yeah, we actually had gotten that it was going to be Pyramids of Mars actually before last week's episode even aired.
Yeah.
So it was just like, I wonder how that's going to tie in. So, so that was kind of interesting. Mr. Gordon, what about your thoughts?
My thoughts, last week we were saying that Russell has a habit of not being able to stick the landing, and that is a severe understatement here. Not only does he not stick the landing, he falls on his ass, damages the ice, and nobody can enjoy it afterwards. This was garbage. I did not like this at all. The more I think about it, the more I dislike it. I just think it's a wasted opportunity. I think it damages the whole season. I think it damages the franchise. And I am just like quite upset about the whole thing. Like, I just don't understand how this happened. I thought we were going into a place where things were better. But I think this is the most like I've been disappointed with a Doctor Who finale in a long time. I almost wish that like Chibnall had a pass on this one.
Yeah.
That's how bad I thought it was. It's just terrible. I mean, it really is, and I feel horrible saying that. I really do. It's not something that I want to say, but I mean, that's how I felt. As Mary said, I was with it for like the first 3 minutes, and it had me when Kate died. I thought, oh my God, is this the end of Kate? We were just talking her up in the last episode. I guess I'll never do that again with a character. And then Rose died, and then everybody else in unit died, and then like the mom died, and I thought, okay, well, this doesn't matter at all.
Right.
And it lost me at that moment. It lost me, and it never got me back. It never got me back through the whole thing. It was just RTD trolling. And it's one thing to troll people, like to troll fans, to troll viewers online or whatever. I mean, RTD can have his fun, but at the end of the day, you got to come up with a good story. And this was not a good story. This is not a worthy sequel to Pyramids of Mars. This is not a great use of Suteth at all. It's just, I thought it was terrible. Absolutely horrible.
Well, there's no
Okay.
stakes. If you
Exactly.
know 5 minutes in, that it's kind of like what happened in Journey's End, where
He
you
wins-
know
he
that the end
wins
of the
too
world's not
easily.
going to happen for a year.
He wins too easily and is defeated almost just as easily. There's
And just-
there's no sense of conflict.
Yeah,
Right.
there's no
There's no
suspense at
stakes.
all.
There's
No.
like, and everything is just, all the stuff all the questions that we had leading up to it. Like, look, I get it, like, the whole thing about, who is Ruby's mom? Who is Ruby's parent? And all that kind of thing. The big mystery behind Ruby Sunday, she's an ordinary girl. Well, she is for now. Like that's the thing. It's like, oh, she's an ordinary girl. And what made her special was that everybody was thinking that she was somebody important. Like, that's what his answer was to that, as almost to say, like, it was almost like, shame on you, viewers, for thinking that she was a big deal, but yet he was the one that set that in motion. Like, RTD was the one that set that in motion. So and then at the end he goes, and then he goes, oh, by the way, her story's not done. We're going to learn a lot more about her. And I'm like, okay, so wait, she's not just an ordinary character. So you're continuing to troll us. She's not a character. She's just somebody that you're using to troll us. It's like, it's just, I just find it all so frustrating.
Okay,
And I got to say, it was a big disappointment.
You
fair
don't
enough.
see her story resolution as being important to the Doctor, though?
Not yet.
I thought
Because
How?
this is the right. So you've got a young woman who has, like, the Doctor in essence, as you know, Russell T Davies has said, has just found out that they're adopted. Right. That's where we're going with this, and meets Ruby, who I feel like that's planned, but anyway, meets Ruby, who is, you know, an ordinary person who has been adopted, and her whole thing in life is to find out where she comes from, right? That's her mystery. And that's what gets her onto the TARDIS. And that story ends so wonderfully satisfactorily because she finds her mum, and then her mystery is done. So she has no need to be on the TARDIS anymore. And that's the heartbreaking moment, right? She didn't need the Doctor, she needed resolution. And so
Exactly.
that's what ends with, you know, like, the Doctor has no resolution in that moment because the Doctor can never find his family or his parents.
right.
So far as we know.
I mean,
As far as you know.
as far as we know, he's never looked.
Yeah.
You know, he's never looked. And his big excuse is that I don't want to bring death to those people because I am the bringer of death. And yet he brings death to companions all the time and people and planets all the time.
But that's
and
okay
it just,
now.
I mean, it there's a lot of things here that don't make sense. And yes, Ruby's story might have been nice if I thought she was developed well as a character, but I never felt like she was fully fledged out as a character. So I just felt like she was being used as a tool and a device throughout the whole season.
No, I felt a lot in this episode, though, Mikey, that, you know, this one, I think the Doctor and Ruby worked the best together than throughout the season. I think
We haven't had a whole lot of episodes of them working together.
Yeah, at least
That's
they got
true.
to they got to spend some time together.
So,
Yeah, that's
exactly,
actually-
exactly.
True.
So you know, and it was interesting. I thought, you know, I agree with what everybody is saying. That's not a problem. And I see what Mike is saying, but do I think this is the weakest finale? No, not at all. Come on, you know, 90% of the Chibnall finales were
Awesome.
way worse than this.
I didn't say it was worse than a Chibnall finale. I said it was the
but-
worst of RTD's finales, in my opinion.
Well, yes and no. You know,
And that's my opinion.
well, exactly. But the thing is, I enjoyed overall watching it. I watched it the first time. I mentioned this off the air. I watched it first when we were on vacation, so I watched it on a laptop. And when I got done watching it, it was just like, oh, that's it, you know, type thing. But then I started processing some of the questions. What are some of the thoughts? You know, and I'm glad we didn't get every single one of the answers in this. You know, I felt the same way, you know, that there was no real, you know, when Sutek just, you know, turned everyone to dust. I was like, I looked at Judy and said, wow, I guess the Avengers are out of the story now. So, you know.
And they're in Avengers Tower when it happens. So it's
Exactly,
very
which
blatant.
makes it even more so. Exactly. And it was just like, yeah, so I knew everyone was going to come back. That was never, ever a problem, you know, but I liked some of the things, you know, that Sutek made the Doctor into someone that he did not ever want to be, that he had to actually kill Sutek. And I use air quotes for kill because, you know, no one dies forever on Doctor Who, you know. So it was interesting. I did like the plot, you know, how they tied in the whole 73 yards into it. I liked how they,
But they didn't. They just mentioned it.
Exactly.
Well, no,
They
but
just trolled us.
they didn't
meant
just
nothing.
troll us.
It meant nothing.
No,
Have you gone back and watched the series since the finale to see how those previous episodes fit into what has been said in the
Yeah.
finale?
I have not.
Then
See?
then yeah.
But I mean, I recall them.
Yeah.
I recall them, and
Yeah.
so yeah. So yeah, that
No.
doesn't. I don't have
I
to
know.
rewatch them all.
I
But
think
it was
hindsight is necessary to make a full because there's lots of things that we don't notice that are only of like seen in hindsight.
well, exactly. And I it was interesting, the whole thing with that woman on the planet with the spoon. I think
What the
that's
heck was that?
we don't know, but I
It's-
think I think there's more to her than
You guys
know,
are really
I'm-
optimistic.
Yeah, I know. Thank
I
you,
am.
thank you, Chuck. Thank you.
I'm still
Chuck.
I'm still waiting for
I kind of
Journey's
doubt
End to
there's
make
more
sense.
to that.
Yeah.
And I hated that he just is suddenly there. There's no transition at all.
Yeah.
But I will say I loved their scene together
Yes.
between
Yeah.
and
It was a
Shooty and the
wonderful scene.
actress
And
was amazing. And that's a very RTD thing to do, though, as Charles was saying, that it's just emotional beats over
Mhm.
over
oh,
plot.
my heart was breaking when you realized that the baby was gone.
Yeah.
And and that was just like, oh, and then, I'm so tired, I need to rest. And then she turned to dust, type thing. And
Because
was
it
just
goes
like,
backwards.
yeah,
Because it goes backwards from the child to the parent.
yeah.
I didn't get
Well-
why he needed the spoon, but yeah, I agree that Russell writes really affecting character scenes.
Yes.
And like in a contemporary drama, it's less noticeable because he's not having to do all the world building and stuff like you have in a high concept fantasy or science fiction story.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't get why he had to go to the end of the time to find a spoon. Because not long after that, they went to 2046, and I don't know if Sutek destroyed all the spoons in the dust thing, or you know what I mean? Like it was just stuff that was either poorly explained or just not explained. And like I said, it felt to me like just really big emotional scenes for characters, and then he just sort of filled in between them, which is a way. I mean, it's not necessarily the right or wrong way to watch. I mean, to create television. I'm sure there's 12-year-olds that watch this that loved it. They got their minds blown, and adults too. I don't mean it's just for
Yeah.
children, but I mean what's important that he's not catering to a 43-year-old nerd who used to collect loose cannon recons. You know what I mean? Like, he's going after the younger crowd, and I don't know if that audience is there, but I would love it if he succeed because he succeeded at it before.
Exactly. It was interesting because I enjoyed it, especially watching it the second time. When I finally got to see it on on my big screen at home and seeing it on a TV, and it was more visually stunning. And I thought there was a lot of little things, the whole thing with Mrs. Flood, the speech she gave before she turned to dust was very powerful. And I thought that was really cool. I wrote it down. Here it is. It's like she turned to, Ruby's grandmother. I'm sorry, you tiny little woman. I had such plans. That was, and then she said, looked at her and, said, do you believe in do you believe in God? And, do you believe in power of prayer? Tell your maker, I will come to storm down the gates of gold and seize his kingdom in my true name. It's like, what the hell was that about? And
Is this the point where we talk about Mrs. Flood?
Go for it. Let's open it.
So I think it's been kind of noticed at this point that every time she appears, she's wearing a costume that a previous companion has worn.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So she's been dressed as Clara, been dressed as Rory, and at the end of that episode, she was dressed as the first Romana.
Right.
Exactly.
And so I don't know if you guys remember, because like 2 weeks ago is forever now, but RTD was just like, these are the 5 stories that you should watch to have a grasp on the finale. And it was Spearhead from Space, which was basically about the TARDIS having been stuck on Earth and the Doctor experimenting with time travel. The finale of Christopher Eccleston and Good Man Goes to War, but the main one that I noticed was Bells of St. John, and I couldn't really see any connections in there. Which, if anyone remembers, is the episode where Clara officially like hard launches into the show. And of course, you find out in Clara's thing that she was put with the Doctor by Missy to, make the Doctor go off the rails. And I was like, that's the only thing I could latch onto in this whole episode that had literally anything to do with it. So I am convinced that Mrs. Flood has put Ruby with the Doctor for some nefarious purpose. That's this story that's going to play out. And Mrs.
Right.
Flood's story is going to play out over 2 seasons.
Right.
And that's why I'm just like, there are some things that are just that are loose ends that aren't going to be resolved. But also, I think we need to have the inner peace to accept that some things may not be resolved and just accept them and move on and
I
go.
accepted that
Thanks,
before the
RTD.
season began.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
Grant me the serenity.
that wasn't my problem with the episode. My problem was that it was a bunch of loose scenes not really tied together.
Mm-mm.
And I mean this, and I actually love RTD. I think he's a very good writer. Don't get me wrong. This is actually not a bash, but it's a style of writing that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. And I'm not sure. And while I did enjoy this episode, don't get me wrong, I'm bashing on it a lot, but I didn't hate it or anything.
No.
But I think it could have been better because I really feel like it was very disjointed and kind of self-serving in a way, because it was just like, oh, I can get this great character moment and I don't have to worry about anything else. Well, that kind of leaves the audience, floundering.
Of
And
course.
there is, at least give us some transitions. Give us even a throwaway line,
Yeah. It was funny though. There's a series of memes going around featuring Sutek and the TARDIS. Have
Yeah.
you seen them?
Yes.
Over the years and everything.
Yeah.
Like when the TARDIS shrunk down in the Capaldi era and
Yeah.
Clara was holding it.
Yeah.
And
Or when there's three TARDISes parked next to each other and there's three Suteks there.
Yeah.
Like, what's up?
what's
Or in
up?
Happiness
So-
Patrol, Happiness
Right.
Patrol, where it's painted pink.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
People are getting so angry about that. Weirdly, they're just like, "Oh, how did the Doctor or the Doctor and Yaz sit on the TARDIS with Sutek there?" And it's just like, he's a god. He's a god. Like, surely he can just move around the TARDIS a bit or something. Like,
Exactly.
Also,
Or,
he
yeah.
can't see him.
well, yeah,
Exactly.
but
Yeah,
he's not
it's
like
one of-
he's sitting in him or something. It's
I mean, it's one of those things though. Like it's a really powerful moment when the Doctor realizes that he's accidentally brought the God of Death on his adventures. What he thought was fun and helping and going on adventures, and he's brought. That's a really great scene, and that's something really like powerful to contemplate. It's just one of those things that you don't want to think about too much because it sort of falls apart. Because then you start
Of
thinking
course.
like, was Sutek on the TARDIS when it blew up in the Big Bang? Like
Oh yeah.
things like that just it doesn't really fit, but for that scene in that moment in this story, I think it works. And it's, the last thing the Doctor would ever want is for, him to have brought death to all these planets and know that it's his own fault.
when
Even Neil Gaiman came out and said, hey, when I wrote the episode and the TARDIS became a woman, wouldn't she have said, hey, there's been this dog riding on my back the whole time,
I think like you can headcanon these things, right? Like that's kind of what they're there for. And I think that's what I took Russell T Davies to mean when he said at the beginning, like when he started taking over his again, like we're moving towards fantasy, not sci-fi. And what I take that to mean is I'm not going to explain everything with technobabble. No more reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. Sometimes things just are, and I'm not going to explain them. But they're also not high fantasy in the sort of Lord of the Ringsy way where you need to know the exact name, origin, story, and history of 2,000 characters over a period of 10,000 years. Which is Star Wars is the worst for that, obviously. So I think he's trying to be like, guys, don't worry about it. Just don't think about it too hard. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I won't.
That's okay if you're like, talking about, an excuse for not doing technobabble and everything. But as far as story structure goes, like as Mary was saying, you have to connect these things in some way, or else you lose people. You lost me, and you lost you, and you just lose the connection of watching a good story because you're too busy going, like, what is going on? I don't understand this. I can't, it's hard to connect with people and characters, which is the main thing that I know he wants us to care about, if you don't connect with them properly. And I just felt like, I mean, I give a lot of credit to the actors. All of the actors involved did an incredible job with the material that they were given. Ncuti
Oh
is
yeah.
still doing an amazing job as the Doctor. He's so compelling whenever he's on the screen. Millie's doing a great job. The scene where she encounters her mom was really well done, and they both actresses did an amazing job with that. And it does
I was
move.
like,
It did move
well,
me
that scene, I
emotionally.
was like, I'm not crying. I'm not crying.
Yeah,
Really, I'm not crying.
it does. It does. And even the scene where she parts with the Doctor was really emotional. Like it was just like the emotion is there. And yes, RTD has that in spades. That is his big thing. He brings emotion to the table. I just really think that this show it could definitely improve with the idea of a writer's room rather than just one guy with a vision.
Mm.
I really think that as much as I like RTD and I respect him, I just think that this show needs more input from other people.
Well, this is
Okay.
the first series of Doctor Who, the first series of new Doctor Who that's had a full-time script editor, which is Scott Hancock, who is quite frankly incredible and hot. But yeah, I I don't know. Writer's Room does keep getting thrown up a lot.
I mean, don't put just anybody in there, although I will gladly volunteer. You can really, you can get me pretty cheap. I'm not that really difficult. So, but I just feel like, because I kind of feel like, especially in this short season and when so much in this day and age of television is on the line. I mean, I've just seen so many times where a bad finale can really tarnish when people binge watch now. And if they are not going to, if they hear that the ending is not going to be worth their time, then that kills it. And you see really, really good quality shows like Game of Thrones just be thrown out because the last season was not up to par,
Or Lost.
or Lost, or The X-Files, or we can name a bunch of them where if that last, and granted, this isn't the last story we're ever going to get from Doctor Who, at least I hope not. So I know we've got a Christmas one coming, but I just think that you have to really spend a lot more time really trying to just make sure it's a home run. And I really feel like, since we knew that as Charles says, I mean, his reputation precedes him. We know what we're going to get. I just really felt like we weren't going to get it as bad as this.
See, I don't feel like we got a bad thing, like you said, Mike. That's the problem. I don't agree with that. And
That's fine. You don't have
and
to,
that's cool. No, but
but I
I
do.
think,
Like, I mean, but even
but
you are
that's
not
yeah.
like as high on it as you've been the rest of the season. Like, and
No,
you and Mary both are not talking about this like you've talked about every single episode we've talked about this year.
no,
but
that's
a
true.
series can
But
go up and down, right?
yeah,
Like it's not like it's under
It
capitalist
can go up and
rules where
down,
you
but when
have
it
to
end, but it
keep
when it
going
ends
up all the time.
when it
yeah.
ends on a down, today's day and age, that hurts a lot. That hurts a
I
lot.
Yeah,
I feel
I'm
like I
not
have to at some point out I really enjoyed the finale of Game of Thrones and Lost.
You're the one.
It's the
Oh,
exception
got
that
it.
proves the rule.
Karen's the
Especially when
outlier.
especially when so many people were counting on the finale to help out with the rest of the season. I mean, because the way RTD built it and the way it was marketed and the way he kept trolling people was that, people were like, "Oh, I know this doesn't make sense now, but I'm sure it will at the end. Oh, I know we'll get the answers at the end. I know this will make sense at the end." People kept saying that over and over again. And now if they're going to have to continue to say it into the next season, into the next season, and the next season, at the end at some point people are just going to be like, "You know what? I'm out. I just can't wait anymore."
You make a good point. Like you make a good point. I'm not sure if it's the point you want to make, but you make a good point. Is that
If it's a good one, then I definitely intended it.
Oh well, so
so
much for that idea.
I'm an old school Doctor Who fan, and I often get asked, like, I've seen every episode, including reconstructions. I've listened to all the audios, well, almost, and read most of the books, stuff like that. People are like, where do I start with Doctor Who? What sort of Doctor Who should I enjoy? Pick one. Doctor Who is the ultimate dip-in show. Show me any show that is monster of the week 60 years after it started. Like, it's still going. You can pick it. Like, I could go out to my shelf, grab a DVD or a Blu-ray and go, I'm going to watch something with the master in it today. And that's fine. And I think in this day and age of streaming where things are in seasons and people binge things, they automatically assume, and look, Russell T Davies has painted himself into a corner here by bringing in this sort of idea. Look, this sort of idea that started with shows like X-Files and Buffy, that you needed to have like an overarching story arc, that the arc is the most important thing. So I think this season, people have been putting way too much on the arc and not enjoying the episodes.
Right.
They have not been enjoying the episodes as they are. And I think, yeah, definitely in an 8-episode season, it's a lot harder because everything, like, he's got to cram in more clues to the thing, where he previously had like 13 episodes and you could have the word bad wolf here or a vote Saxon poster there. But here you've got the snow falling and stuff like that, which could be a bit inaccessible for the casual viewer. But I think I'm definitely seeing that people are not taking the episodes on face value, and they are expecting everything to be a big overreaching story arc. And that's the thing about writers' rooms, right? They all write together one big story together instead of individual writers writing good individual stories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with that completely. And I think, Doctor Who is known for individual stories. Up until, starting with the new series, they've gone away from that as much. But there's still some killer standout stories that, throughout the series. And that's what makes it pretty amazing. And, we're coming up next year, 20 years of the new series already. And there are some amazing standalone stories. And I'll put some of those episodes from this season as standalones up to some of the best ones we've had over the last 19 years. And that's what's great about it. And you know what? So it was it the best ending? No, but there was really good moments in this. And I, did I watch it and be satisfied? Yes. Was it the best I've ever seen? No. I'll fully admit that. That's not even a question for me. And that's the cool thing about Doctor Who. There's always going to be more. You know what? And I think that's great. Shooty is knocking it out of the ballpark. I think Millie is great as Ruby, and I'm thrilled this is not her last episode. Like, there had been rumors, early on, even before the season came. Oh, she's a one and done, season, actress, and that she won't be back. But I'm glad she's going to be back because, he didn't answer anything about the snow. He didn't answer anything about the music. There's more there to it. The whole thing about Sutek, sparing, Ruby's life because he needed to know who the mother was. And that was the lamest ever. I thought that was
in the episode, Russell TD did answer those questions. He said we put importance on her because she was important and she did all those things and she was able to do all these things because we put importance on it. That's what his answer is to that. So it's not a very satisfying answer, but that's RTD's answer as of right now.
As of right now, remember that, because
I mean,
as of right now,
yeah, it's not a great answer, and he's probably going to go and contradict and go back on that answer, which makes this even worse in my opinion. But that's his answer now.
Right.
I think she's going to be an ordinary human, but I think she's going to be put with the Doctor for reasons. Oh, well, and that's the thing, isn't it? Right? Because again, like, I talk about expectations. I think people for like the whole season were just like, oh, she's going to be, I don't know, like Lucy Miller's daughter. She's going to have been conceived by the time vortex. She's going to be the Doctor in the past and the future, or something like that. And in prosaic sort of way, Russell T Davies is like, she's important because she's an ordinary person.
And I was thrilled when they revealed that the mother and the father were normal 15-year-olds who had sex and, pretty much got knocked up, and she, wasn't You know, the mother was coming from a bad stepfather and she was hiding the kid. I thought that was awesome. You know, I'm glad she wasn't the most important girl in the universe, that she was River Song's kid, or that she was Susan's child, or that it was the trickster, like we were saying last week. You know, I'm glad it didn't turn out to be any of that.
I mean,
Charles,
I was
you look like
fine,
you
I
were
was
about to say.
fine with that, but they don't really explain why she was so hard to find then. You
Mhm.
know,
Well,
and
I like the fact that they go searching via DNA, right? And they can't find her, and the only way they're able to do it is by going to the future where DNA testing is mandatory. And like I totally resonated with that because I'm just like, no, I'm not taking a DNA test. I'm not having anyone own the rights to my DNA.
Yep.
It's a total con.
Yeah, I
It's
really like
evil.
the idea that her mother is an ordinary person, and I even like the idea that like you could have done like the villain wants to know really badly what the answer is because the doctor and the companion are really invested in the mystery over the course of the season. But I just didn't think that was built or shown on screen in a way that just felt satisfactory.
Yeah, yeah. Because apparently a 15-year-old girl who's going to abandon her baby dresses like a specter of death and points menacingly at signposts
well,
in order
I
to
just
let nobody in particular know what to name her child. Like I
well,
just
You mean
like I was
well,
other
like,
than
only
I'm
the
like, this
doctor
makes
sees
no
her.
sense.
Only the
The-
doctor sees her, and he's
the
not the
priest
one
came
who's
out.
supposedly named Ruby.
Yeah, but the
So
priest coming out and seeing this cloaked figure pointing at a sign, oh, he wants to name the child Ruby.
But did it happen that way? Because
No,
I thought when the priest came out, there was nobody there.
no,
Like there was
yeah,
nobody
even if a
pointing.
Well,
priest
no,
came out,
you
I
only
saw her
see the shot
pointing.
from the priest, right? Like,
Like I don't like. I mean, it's just it's clunky. You know,
Mhm.
it's clunky,
Let's
and it
go
just
into the let's go into the booth and go back to see what happened, if the priest was there or not.
I mean, it's really clunky, and I mean, it's all set up, right? So uh, that's
I mean,
fine. It's not my least favorite thing about it. Like I don't care that she's ordinary. I mean, I think that's fine. You know, we could do with some more ordinary people, but but it's not just that she's ordinary. It's the fact that because everybody put so much importance on, because Sutek thought she was so important, it led to his demise. So therefore, like her ordinariness, like or didn't not like was still like important
well,
in
that's
order to like
hubris.
save the whole universe.
Yeah, but
well,
that's hubris, right? It's just like, he can't possibly understand that an ordinary person could be important.
right.
Ordinary people are just insects.
I
Yeah, or
really
that,
wish
the answer was right there in front of him all the time. He just
Exactly.
I
didn't
He
look
didn't
for
want
really
to
it.
wish
accept
that
it.
that
Yeah.
message had been
Exactly.
a lot better
Well, I mean, I
Yeah.
agree with you there. I mean, I think there was the whole, to me, the theme of this season, which by the way, I still think is a great, great season. This did not ruin it for me at all. But the theme has been perception throughout the whole
Yes.
season, and almost every episode. It's what do we think reality is? What is a false reality? And how reality is very subjective. And what you call reality may not be what I call reality. And
Exactly.
I think that's one of the reasons why he chose for her mother to be an ordinary person, and to say the thing about how, well, it's all in the way we look at you. That's how you're defined, or how you look at yourself. But I have to kind of agree with Mikey G that he didn't do it that well in this episode, that it was kind of
No.
clunky. And even though I liked this episode, I'm not sure that message came across
Not properly.
in
I
the
agree
way
with
that
that.
he really wanted it to.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like Suteth, who I love in Pyramids of Mars, I do think he's one of the to use it, to pardon the pun, but he is in the upper pantheon of
Nah.
Doctor Who villains.
Yeah.
But as far as being like the head of the pantheon that he's up against this season, didn't matter. Didn't matter that he was part of that pantheon whatsoever. Like it didn't play into this at all. And I thought that was a waste as well. I mean, he might as well have just been doing his own thing. I mean, he's been doing his own thing for a while. There was no really ties to how he would interact or was interacting or would be helped by or whatever
Well,
by the rest of the pantheon in this. It just didn't make any sense that he
that's
was
a
doing that.
that's a callback though, right? Like the toy maker says, I saw the one who waits, that's his game. At someone else's game, I don't want to get involved. Maestro is just like, oh my god, he was there. I don't want anything to do with this. So like it's calling back to why these other characters didn't, as I said, everything in hindsight.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
pantheon is more than just three.
No,
No, and
Like,
there's
if you-
still, and that's the thing, Mike, they're still out there. There's a good chance we'll see further ones in future seasons. I hope to God they do something like that. Because
but I don't
you know,
mind him being a member of the pantheon, but they made it clear in the penultimate episode that he was the head of the pantheon. He was the leader of the pantheon, and it just why like you could have just
Well, now
made
you can
him
have
a
a power
member of the
struggle.
pantheon.
Well, yeah, and also I think that's actually a real underpinning of a lot of mythologies is that, Greek mythology, Norse mythology, Egyptian mythology, the gods are all kind of in it for themselves. They may be a
Yes.
family, but they aren't helping each other out.
nope, not at all.
My only problem with the Pantheon is calling the Mara the god of beasts, because that just felt like that one felt lazy. I'm just like, oh, the Mara, you mean the character that is all about temptation in the two stories that it appears in, literally the snake with the apple, and you're calling it the god of beasts. Okay.
Yeah.
fine.
Well, it undermines his role as the head of the pantheon and the god of death when you use the magic rope to take him on a walk through the TARDIS to undo everything that he's done, dragging him through the time vortex. I mean, it's a silly visual. I think the joke is that he looks like a big dog, and so we're gonna
And he's on a leash.
put this
He was
leash on
on-
his collar and drag him through the time vortex. But we also didn't. I mean, it doesn't mesh with what they already told us in the story. The story was the Doctor had sort of thrown him in the time vortex. That caused him to evolve and become more powerful as he was hiding on the TARDIS. And then they drag him back through the time vortex to bring death to death, which it's just.
But surely the TARDIS was what kept him alive and made him stronger. Like he bonded with the
Exactly.
TARDIS over those years, clinging on to the shell.
I think it was a big mistake saying that he had been there since Pyramids of Mars. I think that just, yeah. I mean, I know, like, I'm not riled up about it, as you pointed out, but I just thought it was ridiculous. It was like, why go through all of that? Like when you could have just said he's been there since, the giggle or whatever. There was no point because that's the only time that the TARDIS started making weird noises. That's the time when this sort of opened up, so that these pantheons of gods were being let in. So it would have made more sense if it had just been more recently than that. And you didn't have to, go against all this other continuity that is just, that Russell T likes having
the one
us
thing
laugh
that
about us.
we got was that, back in Star Beast, with Beep and, oh, the boss is going to like you. So obviously
That has to be a different character.
that
Yeah, we
is
don't know- we
totally
don't know
is a
who that-
different,
yeah, we don't know
it's
who
a
that
totally
is.
different character, which is, which I'm happy to see because again, I don't want to see everything wrapped up in a nice little bow at the end of the season. I'm glad there's more to come. And that's, what I want to see. And so,
Oh, you certainly didn't get that in this.
Well, I think the time to introduce the idea that he had latched onto the TARDIS would have been when the Doctor was at the edge of the universe with Donna.
Yes.
that's what we
Absolutely.
said last week.
That would
Yeah.
have,
and
that would have made more
and
sense.
that would have been the perfect time that,
Right.
that would have made the most
Mm-hmm.
so
sense.
much more sense and not really, I wouldn't have had a problem with that whatsoever. But it's just all these threads, every single scene, every time when I was watching this and I was watching some of the scenes, I was watching the making of course, which was great. And I watched the official podcast and we showed scenes from this and everything like that. And every single scene I saw of it, when I went to rewatch it again, I was like, I can't because every single scene has these threads that are just, if you yank on them or even tug them a little bit, this whole thing just falls apart.
It's interesting with this because, individually, like we've been saying, I've been liking a lot of the characters. One of them, Mel was awesome in this.
Mhm.
bravo. The scenes, she rescued the doctor at the very beginning. She pulled, you know, him away from Susan, and it was pretty good to see that. And of course, she had to give the doctor the motorcycle helmet and everything. And, I just like, safety first, doctor, even though we're going to be turned to dust, And I love that. And then the scene where she went into the memory TARDIS and she saw this Sixth Doctor's coat sitting there. And the look on her face was just awesome and everything. And this is me saying I liked Mel because I could not stand that person in old Doctor Who and everything,
Yeah, well, that wasn't her fault. That was scripting.
Oh,
she
of
was
course.
great on Big Finish. They really redeemed her on Big Finish.
Oh, very
before
much
this.
so. Bonnie Langford is a great actress,
Mhm.
but she just got a raw deal in the old series.
Mhm.
But also, I say the same thing with Colin, and I've admitted it, Colin Baker was saved by Big Finish also.
Mhm. Yeah, no one from those Colin Baker years came out looking great on screen.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. So, we had all these things built up, are we going to see Richard E. Grant? Are we going to see Rogue again? Are we going to see, all these different characters? And, I like these little hints and it made us guess. And I think that was part of the cool thing about this was we had all these high expectations built up after like Mary said, a really good season and everything. And I'm so glad we did not get the space babies back in this one. So it was even better.
They were turned to dust.
The thing is, just because there's a hint, and there are lots of hints, just because there's a hint doesn't mean there's going to be something. Everyone was just like, so wait, so when's Susan coming back? She's not. She was A, a red herring, and B, a reason to tell new Disney Plus viewers the Doctor's backstory, right?
Yep.
Susan's not coming back. Basically, good rule of thumb, anyone who is in a current running Big Finish series, not coming back. Okay? No Paternoster Gang. No Susan. No Torchwood. Not going to happen. Unit,
River
yes,
Song.
because they cancelled it. Yes, no River Song. Also, what is it with you and Space Babies? I'm sorry. I'm just I know I'm coming at the end of the season here. I thought Space Babies was fun. I enjoyed I'm going to say this on record. I thought I enjoyed Space Babies more than Boom.
Okay.
Wow.
Because Boom is very obvious if you actually sit there and watch it and listen to it, that it is a script for the 12th Doctor and Clara that obviously never got made, and he didn't do much rewriting to it. Because if you listen to the dialogue, that's not Ruby talking, that's Clara.
I can see that.
Yep.
Or don't come any closer, it's dangerous. I like the danger. Okay, Clara.
Yeah.
I would still rather watch an unused Capaldi script than Talking Babies fighting a booger monster.
Boom. There we go.
Boom.
Exactly. It was interesting. I still don't get the whole thing with the whistle about activating the TARDIS.
Well,
Don't
the
try to
TARDIS
get
gave
it.
it to him. The
Yeah.
TARDIS gave it to him. So obviously, he's just like, what do I do now? And the TARDIS throws it out. And he's like, oh, brilliant. This activates the TARDIS. It's from the TARDIS. It calls the TARDIS. I didn't think that was a huge mental leap.
No.
What did you
Okay,
think
so
about
I'm a
them-
mental
them-
patient. It's okay.
No,
What did
no,
you-
no. I didn't
What did
mean
you
that.
think about them basically beaming them from 2046 back to 2024? I mean, basically, the Harbinger throws a lever and they get beamed back.
I took that to, as Sutek's just like, I have had millennia to get used to your TARDIS. Sutek knows how to pilot the TARDIS and its functions better than the Doctor. River does
But he-
that.
But he still has the parking brake on. Damn him.
But he still has the parking brake
I mean,
on.
that's pretty much how I took it also, but that was a big bone of contention I've heard from a lot of people.
Oh, there are some people who I think some people just like to gripe. I saw someone online
Oh,
who was
very much
There's
so.
adamant.
legitimate things to gripe about this episode. I mean,
Oh,
we
yeah,
watched
no,
the show
true.
for eight 8 episodes. And I mean, it's not a mystery where there's clues that build up to a resolution where you go, oh, now all these things in the story that I've been watching all this time make sense. It's Russell just throwing in things to hype up the finale until you get there. I mean, it's not the first time he's done this. That's how Russell does his arcs. I mean, you can't watch the first series and guess, that in the future, Rose is going to evolve to a higher plane of existence and cast the name of a space television station across. You know what I mean? There's no clues to lead you there along the way.
And I think we have to remember that when we're watching a series and people are just like, it's going to be this, it's going to be this, it's going to be this. And then they're disappointed because, no, you can't guess. Because if you could guess, it wouldn't be a show, right? Like, if you could guess, he wouldn't be making it. It wouldn't be exciting when you got there. But, yeah.
No, very much so. So, I guess, it was funny when they showed the scene of all the unit folks going out onto the helideck or whatever it was, the patio. It was like, oh, that's the crew we're going to get for the unit spinoff right there. And so it'll be very interesting to see what happens with it.
Kate and Ibrahim holding hands.
Oh, we saw.
Wow,
yeah,
there's your fan fiction moment.
Well, that's the thing. We have confirmed, like, the spin-off is The War Between the Land and the Sea, which is coming. We've got a Christmas special coming. With the next season is already in the can and produced, and the Christmas special has just been recorded after that. And Russell T Davies is writing the scripts for series 3 right now. So we've got a lot sending us forward.
Exactly.
And he teased the other day saying, "Oh, I'm going to be working with Eve Miles again real soon." And he's just like, "Oh, okay."
I saw that.
Yeah, I saw that one too. It's like, ooh,
who's she gonna be playing this time?
Exactly. Her great grandmother. No. So yeah, I thought it was interesting stuff. I loved, when Unit was trying to shoot Sutek at the beginning, and even Morris's little his Segway had guns come out.
Had a gun.
After he made a big deal about this, not wanting the sonic screwdriver to look like a gun because he doesn't want kids playing with it like a gun. Then the 13-year-old has a machine gun in his scooter.
Yeah.
And I commented to the Veronica, like, if I was in Unit, I'm going to stand behind the 13-year-old with a machine gun scooter because he was right behind those guys firing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a callback, isn't it, to the Star Beast when Shirley Ann Bingham's got like rockets in her chair. And I think, like, you're right, it is a bit of cognitive dissonance, but I think what he's trying to do there is sort of give disabled people a bit of agency and just, like, maybe don't fuck with the disabled kid because he might have lasers in his.
Well, I would rather if it was lasers than a machine gun. I mean, I mean, especially if your concern is with kids playing with the Sonic as if it's a gun. I mean, don't put kids with guns on screen.
Nope, exactly.
Speaking of Sonics, right? I saw a clip from the Doctor Who podcast, or I saw a still. I don't watch video podcasts. Looking at you guys, right? And
Thanks,
I was just
dude.
like,
there goes our ratings.
This whole
right there.
season, audio purist. What am I talking about? Like, so this whole season, I've been watching. I'm just like, what color was that? Is that Sonic change? Is that red? Is it blue?
It changes.
And then I saw a still of like he's got 3 Sonics, a blue one, a red one, and a yellow one. And I'm just like, if you think I'm gonna buy all of those,
yes,
you're absolutely right.
You're
yes.
probably
yes. The marketing people are going, ha, 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 ha,
buy 2, get 1 free.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not going to give any of those for free, dude.
Every costume.
Exactly. Oh,
yeah.
I've actually.
Although I feel like, okay, so that's my main gripe about the season is the Doctor does not have a costume. I do not like that. The Doctor has a costume.
Do you like for him to have an iconic costume?
I have like at least an iconic costume, even if he has to like kind of change clothes for a episode. But there's no iconic.
Well, he went back to the Christmas costume at the end.
He did.
The jacket and
the orange jacket and the black shirt and the slacks or jeans. I don't remember now.
I am shocked to hear somebody's concerned about this.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yes, we did.
I am shocked. Shocked, I tell you, to find out somebody else is concerned about this.
I have seen the drawings for the new Doctor Who pop figures that are possibly going to be heading our way.
Oh, that's why he has so many outfits.
Yes, that's why he has so many outfits.
But
Yes.
think like, you can go to a con and people can wear any of these costumes. But
Yes.
I almost want the toy maker back, as if this whole season has been like dressing the Doctor up like a doll.
That would be amazing.
I do like when he
Mhm.
travels into different eras and changes to era appropriate costumes. I do wish, like you said, I wish he would default back to. It doesn't have to be the same thing every week. No one wears the same
standard.
clothes every week. But
Yeah.
yeah,
The thing is, like, Doctor Who has always been like variations on a theme, right? So like
Mhm.
to say the first and second Doctor always wore basically the same thing. But like with the third Doctor, each story, it was a different outfit, but it was still basically crushed
Mhm.
velvet, frilly
Yeah.
shirt, like things like that. Even the fourth Doctor, if you watched like season 15 or something, he's wearing something different each episode. It's just variations on a theme. It's just we finally got a sartorial Doctor who's walking. It's just like, you know what? I'm actually going to dress so I don't get stares. Actually, no, he's still going to get stares because
Yes.
Ncuti Gatwa and he's gorgeous. And
Yes.
yeah,
Well, and none of his costumes were really like downplayed. Like he's not trying to
No.
blend into a crowd in any of those outfits.
No.
No, not
No.
at all.
He has a very kind face, as that woman said.
He does have a kind face.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
do think he's fantastic.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And
He
I
has
would
been
love-
getting I've seen a lot of criticism about him crying every episode. And I think that's just too simplistic. I do say that, that it is sometimes maybe, I don't know, I haven't really like, does it mean that when he like in moments where it's really big, does it take away from that? Maybe. But the fact is, I think they're just looking at one thing. I mean, yes, he does cry in every episode, but he also sings in every episode. He also dances in almost every episode. He laughs in every, like he emotes more than any other Doctor that we've ever had. And I really appreciate that. And I appreciate what he brings to the performance and being able to convey this kind of Doctor. I mean, he's the freshest thing, both the actor and the way that the character is written, that we've seen in the whole franchise. I think
Sure.
he's the freshest thing that we've seen, and I don't think I don't and the last two episodes, last week's and this week's, he had moments where they were actually like breakdown trauma, like anxiety attack kind of moments. And I mean, Ncuti like nailed both of those. And I think those were really kind of important for people to see and
Mhm.
and sort of view as well. And
Well, it
I
was
thought it was really
interesting,
interesting
too,
choices that
with
they made those, and that he, like I said, he just nailed them. And I think so. I like the fact that he's more emotional. Does it mean
Well-
that like it sometimes is not effective as much? Maybe in some moments, maybe, but I like it overall.
I don't think it's a
RTD
bad
actually
thing at
came
all.
out though this last week in an article, and he said he purposely did that, made the Doctor more emotional and
Sure.
show that because he wanted young people to show them, hey, it's okay to show your feelings, that you don't have to keep it up bottled inside and be stoic all the time, or always show that you're happy or anything. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to cry. It's okay to scream because you destroyed the universe and everything. So
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it's a great thing for young kids to see, because that's not something that was normalized when we were growing up. Was for the
No,
heroic
not at all.
men on screen to cry, and I think that's hopefully it's a generation of people who will grow up and won't think of another thing about it, like our generation does.
yeah, exactly. And
Exactly.
it's one of those, saying like, does it having him cry every episode, does it lessen the blow of him crying and having those emotional moments? That, like, I understand why you say that, but that's like saying, does his emotions stop being valid just because they happen often? Like, are they not still exactly the same emotion? And as someone who cries frequently, I cried for 40 minutes at the end of the final episode of Inside Number 9, and it wasn't even a particularly sad show. But yeah, I love seeing it. Although I wish, I like seeing the crying, but also the frustrating thing for me is when he is a bit stoic, especially after they made that point in the giggle that he's done the rehab now. Like he doesn't have to do the David Tennant to no, it's fine, turn away sort of thing. It's like, no, you're the doctor who says you love them and that you're sharing this with them and you cry in front of them. Be a bit more. I think he could too to be more emotive in some scenes.
Exactly.
I was a little bit like the only thing I was a bit sad about. I mean, I understand the directorial choices, but when Ruby leaves and she says she loves him, which I don't think anyone can take that in a romantic way. That is a
No,
very
not at all.
platonic. You are my best friend. You are a part of my life that I want in my life. And the fact that he says nothing and turns away so she can't see him cry, I'm like, no, you don't turn away when you can't when you're crying. But
No,
I think it's just
exactly.
I think that's just old habits with him.
No,
I think
but
also
it's
it might
interesting because she didn't let him get away with it
At the end
of Rogue.
Exactly.
And everything.
Mhm.
Like I think he just has old habits like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the
Exactly.
way everybody's journey is. I mean, if you've gone to therapy, you don't come out of that and suddenly everything's fixed.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
You're not
it's
healed
back
when
and
you
forth.
know
It's up
you're
and
on your
down.
path to healing, but you're
Mhm.
definitely not healing. And this is coming from someone who's gone to a lot of therapy his whole life.
And we call him the therapy doctor, but we don't have any evidence he's actually going to therapy in the way we think of it. I mean, he's sitting in a garden drinking tea, which is relaxing, but it's not necessarily in itself therapy. You know, that's
therapy is when you do a lot of work and you're just like, oh yeah, I'm fixing this. Oh wow, a much deeper place that I didn't even realize was there and I really need to deal with now.
Mhm.
But I would love it if the
Exactly.
doctor was. I would love if they just cut over to David Tennant just randomly talking to his therapist while Suchek was eating the world.
That would have been amazing.
Talking to his
And they
therapist,
both
then
would
just
have turned to dust right there. That would have been just awesome, you know. All right, kids.
I think it was a waste of Rose, by the way. I mean, I don't know why she was in this two-parter.
Oh, well, yeah, they gave her nothing to do in either
No,
of these episodes.
in either episode, no, I agree completely. Hell, she wasn't even shooting a gun at Sutek. So.
Yeah, she didn't even like. I
Yeah,
don't.
she was
know
on her
what-
pad when.
You know,
when
I'm
the whole
glad
thing was
I'm
going
glad
on.
she got a check. But
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah,
don't
Vinny
know.
deserved it.
She didn't really need to be in this two-parter at all. So
Yeah. So, all right, kids, let's go ahead. Any final thoughts before we go ahead and rate this one?
I will say there was one unfortunate dialogue choice where Ruby's calls her birth mother her real mom. It's like,
Ooh, that was kind of,
no,
that was kind of,
that
I noticed
was
that too.
maybe not the best choice.
I'll say that
There.
Empire of Death is a great Doctor Who title.
It is.
Oh, I've said that from the beginning. It's a classic Doctor Who title. The classic
Yeah.
Doctor Who formula is Doctor Who and the something. So it's Doctor Who and the Empire of Death. It's a third Doctor title straight off the bat.
Oh, at the beginning of the season, before the season started, so many people are going, how many people do you think are going to say it's going to be Doctor Who and the Empire of the Daleks? You know, it's and I am so glad the Daleks or the Cybermen did not show up in this episode.
They both got mentioned, though.
they did. I was
Yes,
gonna
they
say
did.
they got
They
mentioned.
The
did
Daleks got a
mention
name
them.
check, and Telos, which is where the Cybermen are, was destroyed. So
Okay.
yeah. Also,
One of the
Califrax came back. Can I just?
Yes.
Sorry. Did anyone who's seen the Key to Time, Califrax turned into a piece of the Key to Time, and the whole planet was gone, and it's back now suddenly. That was just a really weird choice that I just had to put that out there.
It's like, Russell, what are you thinking? You just
he probably just
now are
wanted
you
to
bringing
drive
back the
people
white and
crazy,
black
so he did
guardians
that
too?
deliberately.
Oh no.
The Black Guardians, the Black and White Guardians got turned into voodoo dolls by the toy maker.
That's
I
true.
saw the Guardians of Time and turned them into voodoo dolls.
Are we
Yeah.
sure that they're not members of the Pantheon?
Well, they weren't mentioned by the Harbinger, so
So
Yes. So there you go. All right. Rating time. 1 out of 5 TARDISes, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. We're going to do both last week's and this week's episode
As
So
one
we're-
rating.
as one rating. Or you can rate them separately if you feel like.
yeah, can we please
and-
rate them separately?
Yeah. Because now that we know what the final brought, that's totally fine. And so, Charles, since you brought that up, you get to go first.
I'll go for a 4 for last week, a 2 for this week, for an average of 3.
Okay. Veronica.
I mean, in my head, 3 was the number that came to mind, just for both of them, really.
Okay.
But I mean, maybe
Magic-
being a little too
magic
generous.
number.
2.5. 2.5.
Okay.
Final
Mary.
answer.
Final answer.
I absolutely loved last week's episode. I'm going to give it a 5 because it was just an awesome episode. This one was maybe a 3. So I don't know. I guess it averages out to a 4.
Okay. Ciaran.
I'm the same as Mary. I think last week's was definitely a 5. It was a good reveal. And this week's was about a 3, maybe 3.5. Because it did have some great set pieces in it. So I'd say average it out to about 4 for the pair.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Gordon.
I'm gonna give last week's a 3.5, and I'll give this week's a 2.
Okay. Okie dokie. For me, I'm gonna give last week a 5. If I could have given more, I would have. And
Your
that's how much
show.
I liked it.
Yeah, right. It's your system, your
Give it
show.
a 10.
I'll give it a 10. Last week was a 10. All right. So, but this week I'm going to do a 3.5. And when I first watched it, it was probably like a 2.5. But watching it a second time and going back, pausing it, taking notes and looking at stuff, and it's definitely it moved up to a 3.5. So, I appreciated some of the stuff more the second watching, and I caught a little bit more. Here's a question, actually, I'll throw out to you guys real quick. With, how Sutek brought everyone back to life when he was going through the time tunnel and, having the light across the sky and, everything. Do you think we're going to see people who we thought were dead in Doctor Who or such, coming back because,
Yes.
Top money's on Gallifrey, right? Because
Yeah.
of the line in Devil's Cord, there was a wave of death that rolled out through time and space and killed all the Time Lords. So like that's foreshadowing. We're gonna see Time Lords back probably because they.
Man, if they
I
brought
would-
Time Lords back, how many more little pop figures could they make of every little Time Lord?
I would love for
Yes.
Gallifrey to just
Yes.
keep coming back and keep being destroyed for as long as Doctor
Yeah.
Who runs.
Well, I mean, it's
Okay, so
happened like
basically
50 times
Gallifrey is going to be
already,
it's going to be the Kenny of Doctor Who. Got it.
Name it ping pong.
Well, I mean, Scarro's kind of like that anyway. So yeah.
Yeah.
that's,
Oh, how many times has
Well-
Scarrow
Oh,
been
yeah.
destroyed?
And we
brought
didn't
back?
get a scene of him going, Scarrow's back.
I know. I thought that. Yeah, Scarro's back too. Oh well.
Damn, Scarrow
You
is
win
back.
some, you lose some.
Yeah. So that was just like one of my thoughts when I was like, oh, this opens up a huge amount of different, who could be coming back. So, as I used to say from the Eccleston era, everyone lives. No, so it's just like it'll be very interesting to see where it goes with that. All right. We had last week on the show, we had Charles, Chip, and Shannon. And I asked each one of them to get in touch with me and give me their thoughts on what they wanted, what their thoughts on the episodes were and their scores. And so we got Chip responded with his scores, and Shannon basically responded with a novel. So we'll get to that in a second. Basically, what we got was basically 3 out of 5 TARDISes for both episodes. And he basically, thought both were average, and he liked parts of it. And he thought there were parts, like Mike said, that left him going, this is not finished. This wasn't, right. And so he said he felt comfortable giving it to a 3. All right, folks, sit back. Here comes what Shannon had written. And sorry to say, Charles never got back to us in time at the recording time. So if he responds, we'll do it in our next episode. So basically, Shannon, The Legend of Ruby Ruby Sunday, 3.75 out of 5 stars. She said, Jamie Donahue did a fantastic job shooting this episode. Visually, it was beautiful to watch. Loved the deadite look of both Susan and Harriet. Story-wise, I felt there was too much going on. You have Sutek's storyline, and then you have Ruby's bio mom. Plus, there isn't a good flow in the storytelling. It felt like very random and disconnected. I just have way more questions at the end of the episode than I did going in. However, I think the acting is perfection. Even if I don't like the vibe with everything going on, it's still very enjoyable to watch. Empire of Death. Jamie did it again with great directing. Mel showed why she is such a beloved companion over and over again, always kicking the doctor into gear and asking the right questions. Kate was so courageous, truly a woman of honor. You can't say that she wasn't a strong individual, although it felt like there was just too much going on that wasn't really related at the beginning of the episode. However, that monologue by the doctor after Sutek explained his evil plot was a true doctor monologue. For me, that was the moment you saw Trudy really become the doctor many of us know and love. That could have been performed by any of the previous doctors and could have been just as powerful. I love the nods to Pyramid of Mars and the doctors of the past with the memory TARDIS. Sutek's evil plot actually was kind of cool, even though it didn't make sense with all the things the poor TARDIS had been through. But honestly, I really liked it. The multitude of Susans was an interesting way of spreading his curse. Remind me of Bad Wolf. So I have to ask, did Bad Wolf follow Sutek's lead or just the other way around? Or it really is just the kind of thing RTD likes to do? I really liked it anyway. It doesn't make sense to me why that god of death wanted to know why some random baby's mom was. I understand why it was a big deal for Ruby and the doctor, but none of this seemed to be something that a revenge-obsessed creature would find important, and their goal was to kill everything. Overall, the episode was really enjoyable to watch, but it left a lot of questions and didn't flow as well as it could have. Together, told you this was a novel, folks. There's still more to go. Together, I gave them a 4 out of 5, but just barely. This season as a whole should have been more than 9 episodes, 12 if you count the anniversary specials. And these last 2 episodes highlight that with a neon sign. The story of Sutek and Ruby's mom was connected by a half-assed connection, and to add the 73 yards to the mix was an undeveloped plot tool that could have added as much more to the story if executed better. RTD left me underwhelmed, even though it was a cool story and all. We got no real anything in regards to Mrs. Flood, even though I'm disappointed by that. I can see it being a great storyline. Honestly, it feels very unfinished. However, it's Doctor Who and still intriguing. I am interested to see where season 2 will take us. My hopes are definitely not as high as they were before. Doctor Who is about a madman with a time-traveling box who learns the lesson over and over again that love and passion are what makes life living. Like the woman on the random planet, she remembered even after she forgot the things that she loved, her daughter, her husband, the opera house, the things that gave her a reason to live. Like Ruby, whose family grew even more with the addition of the bio mom and possibly her bio dad. Should I mention the Tyler family and the Ponds too? Consistently, the companions of Doctor remind them of the beauty of humanity, despite the fact that he seems himself a monster repeatedly for protecting and saving the universe. Ncudi's Doctor is just the same as those who came before, just more open about his inner turmoil. Whew. Okay, I need a drink after that one.
It'd be hilarious if you started reading again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Page 2.
Page 2. Oh.
Furthermore.
No, chapter 2.
Thank you, Shannon and Chip, for getting back to us with that.
That was awesome.
Charles, shame on you, my friend. So,
I think Shannon got in enough for both Charles and Chip. So.
oh, very much so. But it was very cool. I did appreciate. We'd love to hear what you guys at home thought. Really, we'd like to know. Please write us. Feedback at earthstationwho.com is always the best way. Or leave comments on the different, wherever you're listening to this, or if you're watching up on YouTube, please post your comments underneath the video and such, even though Ciaran won't watch any of it, so it's okay. So it's a good thing. Let's thank everybody for being here tonight. Charles and Veronica, thank you guys so much.
Well, thank you
Always
guys
a
for
pleasure.
having us. Yeah, and people can find us on 2 shows on the ESO network, co-hosting Earth Station Trek, where we go live on Thursday evenings, either talking about the latest Star Trek episode or talking about a legacy Star Trek topic when there's no new Star Trek episodes, or hosting Monkeying Around, which is a podcast about the monkeys. And where else can people find us, Veronica?
Feltnerdy.com.
Yeah, locally, people know
Yay.
us as Felt Nerdy. We do both all ages and very adult puppet shows, and we've got a big puppet
Don't
show
get them
coming
confused
up.
and bring the kids to the wrong one.
You can't. They check IDs. But
Okay.
yeah, well, we've got a big show coming up where we're actually doing our first co-headlining show with another puppeteer. He's an incredible marionettist who performs under the name Puppet Pants. But we are doing our sort of burlesque, raunchy, nerdy, fun puppet show, and then he's taking the stage and doing real puppetry. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And we actually have a promo code for people who listen to the ESO network.
Yeah. So if you get tickets, use the promo code ESO 2024 for $5 off.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. This is July 7th at the Red Light Cafe in Atlanta.
Perfect, guys. Looking forward to it. And let's thank Ciaran. Thank you, my friend.
so much. It's always a pleasure. And you can find my show, Please Attend Carefully, the Doctor Who podcast all about the Master, which I host with my best friend, Amber. We're on hiatus at the moment, but we will be back soon with new episodes, but we've got heaps of episodes for you to listen to at the moment. So yeah, please attend carefully.
Awesome. And let's thank our regulars for being here, of course. Mr. Mike Gordon, we've made it through another one, my friend.
We did. And as always, it's my pleasure.
Anything you want to promote?
Outside of this podcast, the other 2 podcasts that you can find me on are the Dragon Con Report. We've got 2 more episodes to do before the big event. And we just released our June episode.
It's coming.
Oh, it's coming, man. It is. Oh, man. I don't even want to think about it. But yes, it is coming. But we've had a lot of fun. We had the DCW Dragon Con Wrestling folks on in our June episode, and that was a lot of fun. So give that a watch, give that a listen. And you can also listen to me on our new podcast that I do with Drew Leiter called Bat Chums, where we review and talk about, recap every episode of the Batman 60s series.
Awesome. And of course, the lovely and talented Mary Ogle.
Yes, I can't believe it's another season over.
We're done. I can't believe it.
I can't believe it. But only 6 months to New Who.
Exactly. I almost feel like the kid at the interjections video. Darn, that's the end. Those of a certain age will understand that. Younger folks.
Yes, those of us who are older than dirt will understand.
Exactly. So, you want to promote your stuff real quick?
You can find me at maryogle.com or on Etsy at eVision Arts.
Excellent. Folks, thank you for joining us so much. We do appreciate you. Thanks for everyone who wrote us this season. Thanks for everyone who's been joining us. Our numbers have been going through the roof. Thank you. Wish more people watched this on YouTube, but they will eventually. They'll go, hey, we want to see what those schmucks actually look like. So it's a good thing. So, he might become the Doctor Who Schmuck podcast. Who knows? You never know. It should be Earth Station Schmuck or something. I don't know. We're always coming up with new podcasts. So always a good thing, folks. It's always great to talk to everybody. If you made it this far into the podcast, please like and subscribe. That's the best way we know that you're actually listening. It's free. We'll never charge for this podcast. Like some people, out there, we've got, if you want to hear the full episode, you could pay, $9.95 a month and stuff. And there are podcasts that are actually starting to do that. We will never do that. We will maybe eventually do bonus stuff, but we will not for the actual episodes. We are not. And speaking of that, please join us July 9th. We are going to be doing a live episode. That's right. We're going back live, folks. So we are going to be talking all about this whole wonderful season. And it should be a ton of fun. And, it's just going to be great because, we get you guys involved with it. You get, we have folks in the chat room. We have fun doing live talks and everything. And it's a great time. And you know what? It's always just fun being with Mary and Mike. So, and, not that Ciaran and, Veronica and Charles are any slouches either. So they're always just great to be with. So everyone who's joined us during the season, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you guys at home. We will see you soon. Hope everyone has a great, couple weeks till we come back with the live episode. We'll talk to you soon. Peace. And we are done. And let's go explore another part of the universe because it's all come alive. Oh my God, I just realized that's how they brought back from Flux the rest of the universe.
Oh, yeah. Now everybody's back
I just
again.
thought of that. Oh my God.
I didn't think of that either.
Bye.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from throughout space and time. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individuals and are to be used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our show wherever fine podcasts are found, or check out our website, earthstationwho.com. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook or Instagram, and if you enjoyed the show, please write to us at feedback@earthstationwho.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on the next journey of Earth Station Who.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.